Patrice Romsick, and I want to welcome you to Springerle Tips and Tricks for 2013. It's been a few years since I recorded some videos, and since then, I've had the opportunity to talk to customers and refine my own techniques. And I wanted to share with you some of the things that I've learned. The first one today is let your dough rest. In a previous video, I said let it rest about 10 minutes. Well, since then, I have let it rest 30 minutes to several hours. And I found that the longer it rests, the nicer it behaves when I actually start to roll it out. It gives the flour a chance to absorb all the moisture it possibly can, so that when you start to knead in more flour, you don't have to use as much, and the resulting cookie doesn't taste as floury. So it's a win-win all the way around. So I've taken a portion of the dough that I've let rest now for an hour and a half, and I've taken just a little bit of it to show you the use of dough guides. And what I did was knead in some flour, and I've got to tell you that if you let it rest for an hour or two, it's very supple, very nice to work with, and you don't have to add a lot of flour as you're kneading it in. So what I've done here is get most of the cracks out. The rest of the cracks will be mushed together. I'll just say mush, because that's really what happens when you press the mold in. And then what I have here to demonstrate are pairs of dough guides. And yes, I do sell them. They come in 3 pairs. A pair of 10 millimeters, a pair of 5 millimeters, and a pair of 3 millimeters. What you can do is control the thickness by layering different thicknesses of these guides until you build up whatever resulting thickness you need. In the case of my average cookies, I roll them at about an 8. Some people like thicker cookies, and so they might use a 10. But that's really a question of personal taste. For big molds, however, you really need to think about using the 10s, the 5s, and then the 3s as well. Because when you're thinking about a large mold, you've got to think about the structural integrity of the actual finished cookie, and that thickness will help strengthen it. Now that we've talked about the dough guides, I want to show you how to use them. Here I have a set of 5 and 3 millimeter guides that I'm going to put together. That's my average rolling thickness. And I want to show you that with these guides, it helps move the dough in the direction that you want it to, the shape that you want it to take, so that you can maximize the number of impressions that you make from a rolling. And today what I'm going to demonstrate here is a new mold we came out with this year. It's a Merry Christmas mold with 2 bells down here. We also offer a German language version of it, Frohe Weihnachten, if you'd like to get that version as well. So we have the mold, we have the dough guides, and we have a rolling pin. I've already dusted the surface so it won't stick. You see how easy it is to do this? I used to think that these were kind of training wheels for a rolling pin, and I didn't think I needed them, being such an expert Springerle maker, until the first time I used them, and then I realized, oh, this is a very valuable tool. And they're very common, by the way, in Switzerland. It's said that any Swiss household that does any kind of baking has sets of these at home. So having done the rolling out, I'll dust this off with a little bit of flour, and you can use all-purpose flour for the dusting. And then I'm going to press this in. Take a look, good impression. There's also quite a bit of residual flour, so I don't even have to dust it the second time. I'm going to dust it more carefully here the third time so there's no sticking. And then the fourth one looks like it's going to be a tight squeeze. But as you press down, the dough is going to be extruded out in all directions, so you'll probably get a good coverage on this fourth, even though it looks like it might be tight. And the only thing I would recommend is you press here and toward yourself, away from this impression so it doesn't get distorted. You see how it shaped up? Now, all you need to do is press the cookie cutter into it, and this is from a fluted set of 11 that I sell, and cookie cutters are a great investment, by the way. And I will be showing you what you can do with those in a minute to be creative in your cookie making. But right here, this is a perfect flute. It goes right outside the border of the cookie, and you are in good shape. Now we're going to do this again. Got some minor cracks in here, but they're not terribly noticeable, and the cookie mold pressure is going to take care of those when I start to press in the cookie mold. Roll it out. Take the one we're already using, dust this a little bit. The dough's a little drier now, so the threat of sticking isn't there like it was on the first rolling. Press here. And this third one is going to be a little bit of a tight fit, but we can do it because we know some of that dough is going to come out this end. Put the pressure here, push away from that other mold and down, and you'll see that we got a pretty good margin of extra dough. Then you press. Sometimes it sticks a little bit here, which is a nice thing, and you can just convey the cookie at that time. Sometimes it doesn't, but you can always remove the scraps and pick up the third one here with your bench scraper. So there you have it, the use of dough guides in making Springerle cookies. The next tip is using a mold like this with several different size cutters to get different looks from the same mold. This is mold 1694, which is called a star within a star within a star. And we're going to start out by rolling out our dough. We're going to use an 8mm thickness for our dough. I'm going to be sure that once I roll it, that it's loose underneath so that nothing sticks. Then I'm going to take the mold and I'm going to use my pastry brush to dust both the top surface of the dough and the mold. And I'm going to press it in 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now here's where the cool looks come in. First, I'm going to use an oversized star cutter for this particular size of mold, and I'm going to give it a border. Border the cookie. And this is what the cookie looks like. I have to do that like that. And now you can see what the cookie is like. Nice big border. The next cookie I'm going to cut using more of a medium-sized star. And that will cut right on the edge of the star cookie. And it'll look like that. And then the third cutter I'm going to use is really small, and it's going to capture the interior star, the smallest of the 3 stars. And then I'm going to just push it out gently with my fingers. So that gives you some idea of what 3 different star cutters can do to give you a different look using exactly the same mold. So I've shown you 3 tips today on making your Springerle. The first is let your dough rest for up to a couple of hours, keeping it covered while you do so. Secondly, I've shown you all about dough guides and how handy they are for forming the shape of your rolled out dough as well as for the thickness. And lastly, I've given you an idea on how to use several different size cutters with the same mold to get different looks on your cookie. So I'd like to invite you to my website, springerletroy.com, and to my Facebook page for more tips and tricks as they evolve in the next year. And with that, I wish you happy baking.